We're back, guys. Another interesting, spectacular, incredible episode of Oversteer TV Online, the podcast, the greatest name in motorsports podcast history. I'm here, my pal. There he is over that side, Jeff Brown. I'm Tony Castanera. We're winding our way down. The season's almost over. NASCAR finished now. We got a new champion in NASCAR, don't we?
Oh yeah, three-time champion. What's his name? Joey Logano. There you go.
That's how
Blanking there for a second.
that was the perfect response because that's what everybody was acting like after Logano won. They're like, he doesn't deserve it. The boringest
Yeah,
champion
there
NASCAR
is a
has.
big team. We actually got three champions now from the trucks and the Xfinity Series and the Cup Series. The
Yeah.
the truck series was Ty Majeski. I call him the Magic Man,
All right.
and he absolutely dominated that race. Led like 130 something laps of 150. And he was much deserving of that championship. I must say, he was the
Mhm.
favorite going in, and he wanted the congratulations to Ty Majeski for the NASCAR
Congratulations.
Truck Series. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then of course on Saturday races, the Xfinity Series, which Justin Allgaier won the championship. Now that one was not a runaway like the trucks. This guy was a lap down. He was out of it completely. He was begging for a caution, and a caution came out, which put him back on the lead lap,
Mhm.
gave him a fresh set of tires starting from the back when nobody else was fresh tires, and he passed everybody and came up and won the race. And that's significant because his car owner is Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Oh,
So Dale Earnhardt Jr. has won the Xfinity Series title with his driver Justin Allgaier. So
and of
that's
course,
two of them. Now the third one is just full of controversy, the Cup Series. Everybody's raising a big stink that Joey Logano should not be champion because he just kind of won one race during the regular season and just kind of laid low,
yeah.
waited for the playoffs to start
Mhm.
while, uh, you know, the Hendricks number 5 car,
Mhm.
which would be, what's his name? Starts with an L.
Lagan, no. Larson.
Not Logano. But anyway, he dominated this. He dominated the whole season,
Right.
won more races, and then didn't make the championship 4, which everybody complained about.
Mhm.
And then, everybody said that if Logano won it, they were going to quit watching NASCAR because he didn't deserve to be champion, should not have been there in the first place. And of
Yeah.
course, he won the championship, makes him a three-time champion, which puts him in rare air
Mhm.
with a lot of other big names in the sport over the past years.
Well, it
So,
wouldn't
what's
be
your opinion of it? Do you
what
think he should have been champion?
well, they set the rules before the season started. He won. If you didn't like it, somebody else should have beat him, but they didn't. Okay. Um, the problem is the way the point scoring and the way it's set up. That's the problem, NASCAR. I got nothing against Joey Logano. He's champion. He's deserving champion because he played by the rules, sort of. Sort
Sort
of.
of.
Beginning of the year, he wasn't playing with the rules so much. Michael Jackson. But he won fair and square. You don't if you don't think he's deserving, then you should have beat him. Now, the point system, yeah, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of stopping the race for stages either. Stages belong in rallying. Then it's cool in NASCAR. It's like, oh man, this is getting good. Wait, we got to stop. You know.
You see, the stages are what makes it good, in the middle of the race.
Yeah.
That's what keeps the guys running and keep your interest
Mhm.
as far as through the race instead of taking a NASCAR nap and waking up for the last 50 laps. You're engaged for two stages for those points and those drivers.
You see, I would argue the exact opposite. I go, oh, they're going to stop it again. Oh, I'm going to take a nap. It doesn't matter. um, the race itself, did you enjoy it? The Phoenix race?
Yeah, yeah, it was a good race.
It was a good
The
race.
track itself, those restarts are incredibly wild, 5 and 6 wide.
Mhm.
The way the track is designed, which is very unique to all other tracks. It's a short track with sort of a mile and a half D oval kind of feel to it. So
Uh,
it's going to got both short and mid-sized track to it. I'm not a fan of it being in Phoenix. I would rather it come back to Homestead, where it belongs.
it was, it
I
was,
think the drivers would prefer it to be in Homestead because Homestead is a lot of their favorite tracks around.
it was a fairly enjoyable race. Well, it was a good race. It wasn't that enjoyable because Leigh Diffey was calling it, and oh god,
But I
all
got
he
to
does,
disagree because I think Leigh Diffey does an incredible job.
all
I,
he does is shout and shout and shout, and says, and then he does what's the
he
all those
brings the action.
and the rhetorical questions. Can he? Is he going to do it? Is he going to do it? The answer is no. Of course, he's not going to do it. It always is no. I don't know. He just rubs me the wrong way. He's always shouting. He's trying to make something exciting that isn't exciting. The problem is he tries to make stuff exciting that isn't exciting. Then when something happens that's exciting, what does he do? He can't up his game because it's the same thing, you know. He's like a band if they only played with power chords all the way through, you know.
Metallica.
Okay, after a while it's the same crap, and it just you lose the excitement. I know some people love the guy, but I can't stand him.
I don't necessarily love him, but I think he does a very good job. I think he's very informative. He's very knowledgeable, and like you said, he tries to keep the excitement up, which I like, rather than just kind of droning. I like that he keeps the excitement up.
And I think he kind of dumbs it down too. So um, I
We can
don't
agree to disagree on that one.
I don't like Leigh Diffey. He's even blocked me on Twitter because he's a little bitch and he can't take any criticism.
Well, he hasn't blocked me,
Are you even
but
on
I'm not
Twitter?
on Twitter, so
There you go. um, we still the interesting part about NASCAR, even though they do have the champion and everything's all settled, and I think tonight's the awards banquet or tomorrow night. I know Penske's already in New York. They're doing stuff in New York City for the banquet and everything. It's just the season's not over because that's lawsuit with Michael
yeah,
Jordan and who else is still going through. And I guess they're still negotiating to see how it's gonna.
yeah. I'm sure it's not going to go to, it's not going to go to trial or anything. They're going to come to some kind of agreement. A lot of the teams and everything, they're treating these charters like a franchise, like an NFL franchise, when it's really not a
No, it's
franchise.
not.
All it is a guarantee. It was designed to give the top 36 teams the ability to go to their sponsors and say, hey, we guarantee that we're going to start all of these races this season because we
Uh-huh.
have a charter and your sponsorship is guaranteed
Right.
to be in this race. And that's all it was basically designed for, was to help the teams,
Mm-hmm.
guarantee their sponsors a spot in every race. If the sponsors, because if you're going back to the old system, you have to qualify. If the guy doesn't qualify, then that sponsor doesn't make the race.
Mm-hmm.
Then they're mad. So I can understand what they've done with it, but it's gone further. Now it's gone into the franchise category. The
Mm-hmm.
the way that they hold it over the team's head right
Yeah.
now. And then, of course, there's no revenue sharing like a franchise. So maybe they will move into a franchise system and have more revenue sharing with the TV money and so forth. Who knows?
Um, I kind of agree with Michael Jordan and those guys that yeah, NASCAR probably should be sharing the revenue more and stuff like that. Um, but if I was a judge, I'd be throwing that case out because
Yeah,
hey, you signed on the dotted line.
a contract. Well, actually, they didn't sign on the dotted line. That's why it's going to court because it was kind of shady the way NASCAR came in on a late in the afternoon, I think on a Friday, and told them they had like 4 hours to read this 70 something page contract agreement and sign it or lose your charter, which was pretty shady. The teams asked for an extension. I think they gave him like 24 hours. So, even a lawyer has to have more time than that to go through these contracts.
Yeah, because lawyers bill by the hour.
Right. But NASCAR has basically got a monopoly going on, and I don't see a way to break that up. I don't see there's a way to do it.
I've said it before. I look at this not so much that they want to have the courts settle it, because if the courts settle it, nobody will be happy. Um, I think of it's more of a let's drag them, let's scare them, let's drag them to court, let's scare them, and then use as a negotiation tool, and let's try to figure this out. And they're still battling, and they're still battling. NASCAR obviously is probably just like dragging it out because they don't want to do it during the season where everybody's paying attention to the series. They're going to wait till like December probably before any announcements are made, when everybody's up to here with NFL, and NBA, and nobody's paying attention to NASCAR whatsoever. And so it's like a little blip at the bottom of the
They'll make a ruling at 5 o'clock in the afternoon on a Friday.
Right. So people
cover it and hope that it just slides underneath. Yeah. Hey, but it may turn out that it'll be a better deal for all the teams, and they may want to announce that, big on a Monday morning and say, "Hey, we gave in, you guys won," which I doubt, but.
Then again, NASCAR can go, okay, we gave in to Michael Jordan. The rest of you guys are still screwed,
You got to sign a contract.
You got to see how many people are following each other and who's. I'm sure there's some teams out there who are totally on NASCAR side still because they don't want to they don't want to irritate the golden goose, so to speak. Yeah.
So. Well, that's why most of the teams, or almost all the teams, signed it, was just because they were threatened with their charter, and their sponsors, are depending on those charters. So, with the monopoly situation, they really had no choice but to sign it. Were they happy about it? No. They were all very unhappy about it. But they had no choice because NASCAR controls all the tracks. They control the cars. They control everything about the sport. So, and like I said, I don't really see a way to break that up. The court's not going to come in and say, "Hey, you have to sell half of your tracks," or it's just, I don't see the way to do it without it causing a big problem.
I really don't want the courts to decide it because they don't know the business. I'd like to see it settled with each team's lawyers and NASCAR, but we'll see. And it reminds me, and that looks an awful lot what IndyCar did, because remember they came up with the same idea a couple of months ago, and now there was like, we want everybody to sign, and Roger Penske had to call up a couple of team owners, and I don't know how he threatened them at the end to get a couple of team owners to sign and everything. So we're probably going to be looking at the same thing with IndyCar soon.
Yeah. Well, I think IndyCar has a better deal for the teams. I think there is some revenue sharing and things that NASCAR. I think they looked at the NASCAR charter system and they said, "Hey, what's working? What's not working? What do we want to change?" And I think they made those changes. So I think what we might see is the NASCAR start looking more like the IndyCar charter system by the end of the deal.
It's interesting you say that because yesterday Romain Grosjean, the famous Romain Grosjean, came out. Oh man, he was on fire complaining about IndyCar. if he's looking for a ride, but there's no money out there, that IndyCar's not spending any money on marketing or don't know how to market, all kinds of stuff. And everybody's like, just like, everybody
No
like,
way.
you know. And as I remind people, racing is a business.
That's right.
and and that's the thing also with Formula One. The past 2 days have been crazy in the business side of Formula One. First off, the race director, Niels Wittich, he was he he's leaving F1 as a race director, I mean, with immediate effect, which means he got fired.
But
Everybody's saying,
they gave him the option to quit, right?
yeah. They said,
Let's get fired.
yeah, quit or get fired, because people, when you leave Formula One or a business like that, you stay. The season's only got 3 races to go. You're the race director. Unless it's an emergency, and there is no emergency, you stay to the end of the season, then you leave. So he got fired, which is like, where did this come from? People were complaining some about, but everybody always complains about Formula One's race direction. Then a few hours later, the president of Formula One, the Greg Maffei, the business side of Formula One, who works for Liberty Media and everything, he has said, I'm quitting too. He's resigning. Wow. He's resigned effective the end of the season, at least. Which was like, that was another shocker. And it was announced also that John Malone, the guy who actually owns Liberty Media, the big guy, most people don't realize that John Malone is like the way Jeff Bezos was Amazon or Elon Musk with Tesla. Liberty Media, which owns F1, which owns the Atlanta Braves, which owns a lot of Comcast, a lot of other stuff like that. He's going to be taking over now, running F1 also, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And then, like, literally a few hours ago, the FIA, the governing body, they decided to, with immediate effect, Paolo Basari, who's the compliance officer for Formula One, is like, he was they even said he was fired, because he couldn't get along with the president, who lost confidence in him. I don't know what's going on in Formula One.
Who knows?
John Malone retiring, that was kind of a shock. Nobody saw that coming, but at least he's staying to the end of the season. So it's not like he's like being fired or nothing. In fact, he's staying. He's still going to be working for Liberty Media, just going to be doing something else. The Wittich came out of nowhere, the race director, and then this guy, the compliance director. I have no idea. I asked people what's going on, and they don't know. It's like,
well, what are they going to do for these last 3 races without a race director?
Well,
they have to name somebody interim.
I forgot the name, but there's a guy, like, this is a huge corporation. There's a guy right below him. He'll probably take in interim going up there. John Malone staying, and the compliance officer, he that's an office job. What
does he do anyway?
Yeah.
But a race director is pretty important on the race day.
Yeah, so as soon as I heard that he quit, or he was fired, I put
your application in, right?
Yeah, I put my resume in there, man. Hey, I've organized rally crosses. I've organized drifting events. I even flagged at Hialeah Speedway. I flagged at road races. I flagged at go-kart tracks.
Right, you were head of what PR at Moroso.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Who else is more qualified?
Exactly. I can take the compliance job, whatever that
is. Oh, it's funny, man. And then the FIA got all political. They did something also. They gave a thing, like, for, they always put out what they think about changing the rules for next year and all stuff like that. And one of the things they put out there, next year, all the rules will be gender neutral. I understand what they're trying to do and everything like that, but right after the election of the United States and everything, that's not exactly, that's something you just like excuse me, you too, but the shitstorm they do just nobody cares about the race now. Now all they care about that. It's hilarious.
Hmm.
Oh man. Anyway,
They're
no
making
pop.
news.
They're making news. That's all it takes, man. That's all it takes. So, um, this is the kind of year kind of gets kind of a little depressing though, because everything's like there's no more racing anymore. There's
I know.
no more NASCAR, no IndyCar. Rallies. WRC's got one more rally in Japan. I believe that's next week. F1's got three more races. The next race in 2 weeks is in Las Vegas. Uh,
That should be good. That's their first one, right, in Vegas?
yeah, the second one. They raced there last year.
Second one.
Yeah, last year.
I missed that one, I guess.
Yeah. So I guess that's it for today. I guess we're done. Go back to your life. So, guys, come on, show us some love. Hit subscribe, hit like, some comments, some other stuff. And we'll see you again next week.
Yeah.
Jeff Brown. I'm Tony Castanera. Oversteer Online the podcast. Yay!